What is going on, beautiful people of the world? My name is Garrett Wolf, and I am the host of the #1 podcast for people who are trying to go from saggy flabs to six-pack abs. I've built my body over the last 8 years, and in the last 3 years, I've helped hundreds of online clients shred unwanted fat and embody the best version of themselves. Now, let's jump right into today's show. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Alpha Movement Podcast. This is the #1 show for people who are trying to go from saggy flabs to six-pack abs, all without giving up the most enjoyable aspects of their life. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about and answering the question, do you have to train abs? Do you have to train your abs if you want a six-pack? Do you have to train your abs if you want to get leaner, if you want to get more shredded, if you want to be more aesthetic? All right, guys. So I'm going to be answering that question, talking all about it, give you the ins and outs of, do I train abs? Should you train abs? And what type of person should be worried about training their abs? That is, if you want a six pack or if you want to see your abs at all whatsoever. So, you guys already know the deal. If at any point during this episode you enjoy what I have to say or you take some value from this podcast, please screenshot my face, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me at _Garrett Wolf, and I will reshare it to my story, and I will also send you a free gift. Other than that, guys, I hope you're having a fucking fantastic day today. I really, truly do, down to my core. Hope you're having a great day. It's a beautiful day here on Thursday morning. It's almost the afternoon. It's about 10:30 a.m. The sun is shining. The air smells fresh. I have a nice cold cup of black coffee, and I am excited to bring you guys this podcast today. And I'm grateful, frankly, to be alive, to be honest with you, because, yesterday was my birthday. I did a little birthday podcast answering the question, am I eating birthday cake? I did not. Instead, I had a nice protein Oreo cheesecake. Then, I chilled out, did a little relaxation, chill with the family. It was nice and fun. It was nice, good fun. And now I'm back. Now I'm hopping right back into positive momentum here on Thursday because, I lost a little bit of momentum. If you guys knew, last weekend, went out with the boys, had a little bit of a good time. Then, I was waiting for my birthday, so the days were kind of long. The days were kind of not really exciting. I was just kind of waiting for my birthday. And then now that that's passed, there's really not a whole lot in my way standing between me and my show day. That's 29 days out. So I'm excited. I'm just counting down the days. I'm really, really amped up to get, peak condition, super duper shredded, get ready for this show. I'm ready to smash the show, and then I'm ready to generate six figures, $100,000 before I turn 23. That's going to be the goal. I'm going to try to get at least 25 to 50 clients inside of the Alpha Movement Academy, and I'm excited to really blow it up. I got ads popping off coming through this weekend, and I'm going to just start supercharged diving into positive momentum head first and really, really trying to do my best to take multiple steps at a time. It's all about that 1% progress until you're making, 5% progress every single day. And then I'm trying to bump it up to, 10% progress. We're going to have 100 podcast episodes out by the time I hop on my show. We're going to have 1,000 Instagram posts. I'm actually only 14 posts away from 1,000 posts on Instagram, which is insane. We're probably going to have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm just super amped up, super excited. And there is actually one more thing that I need to announce to you guys, but I am not currently ready to announce that yet because I'm only going to announce it when I'm like, a week or 2 weeks away from that actually happening. And that might, that announcement might come after my show, to be honest with you. It's nothing to do with you guys. It's a lot to do with me, a lot to do with my life and where I may end up physically. I don't know what else I can say. I don't really want to reveal it, but all I'll say is shit's moving pretty quickly in my life. Shit's moving quick, shit's moving fast, and there's some crazy things coming up, and it's going to take a lot of settling, not a lot of settling, but a lot of just reinterpretations of what I need to do, of what I need to get done, and a lot of like just rededicating myself to what it is that I actually want to get done within this next year. And so that's my life. I'm grateful. I'm excited. And I'm going to hop right into answering the question, do you have to train abs if you want a six pack? So there's a couple of nuances to this question here. Do you have to train abs if you want a six pack? No, you don't. I'll answer that question right now. You don't. If you just want a six pack, if you just want to see your abs physically, then obviously all you have to do, not obviously, I mean, a lot of you guys are beginners, right? A lot of you guys are beginners. a lot of you guys are novice lifters that don't know a whole lot about this stuff, and that's why I'm answering the question for you. So you do not have to train your abs. All you have to do if you want to see them is you have to get lean enough to a low enough body fat percentage to be able to actually see your abs. Now, that being said, I do not like it when people all around the fitness industry say, abs are made in the kitchen, because it's not true. Abs are not made in the kitchen. The word made insinuates that something is created, cultivated, or crafted. And abs are not created, cultivated, or crafted in the kitchen. You might be able to diet down to be able to see your abs, but they are not created, they are not sculpted, they are not crafted in the kitchen. So that statement is incorrect. Abs are not made in the kitchen. However, you can diet down to a low enough body fat percentage to where you can actually see your abs for the first time just by going on a diet. Now, that being said, most of my clients and most of my ideal client avatar are skinny fat men. So men who are kind of like average Americans who have more fat on their body than they do muscle. Why is this a problem? Because this is a problem because no matter really how much you diet, you won't really be able to see your abs sustainably, because 80% of people, 80% of dieters regain the weight that they lost off a diet 6 to 12 months down the line, because their metabolism goes so low. You might have to eat, again, I go through this all the time. You're going to have to eat 1,800 calories. Then you're going to have to diet even more, 1,700 calories. You might lose a pound or two. Then you're going to have to go to 1,600. Why is this? Because your metabolism is so slow, because you have not a lot of muscle, but a whole lot of fat, and you're likely pretty inactive. Again, the average American is what we're talking about, only gets 4,000 steps per day. So you're not burning a whole lot of calories throughout the day. This is a huge problem because, if you look at my journey, I was 14 years old when I started lifting, and I wanted to see my abs. I was also a skinny fat kid who lived a sedentary life, who sat at a desk most of the time and didn't really move throughout the day. So I had a very, very slow metabolism. I may have only burned 2,000 calories a day, probably even less, right? And so let's take my life experience as an example. I'm eating 2,000 calories. Let's go back to where I'm 14 years old doing HIIT workouts in my basement, and I'm starting to eat 2,000 calories a day, right? And I was about 195 pounds when I started this journey. Again, skinny fat, not a whole lot of muscle, but a whole lot of fat, right? So 195 pounds, about 5'10", and I was trying to diet down to see my abs to become more toned, to become, a jock. I wanted to be like the high school jock, right? Because I was 14 years old. I was about to go into high school, right? So I was trying to diet down and see my abs. So I started doing HIIT workouts, getting a little bit more active, maybe getting 6,000, maybe 7,000 steps a day. I didn't have a Fitbit at the time, so I couldn't really tell you exactly how many steps I would get. But the point is I was inactive and skinny fat, right? So I had to diet down to 2,000 calories a day, right? So that's where I was at. I would maybe lose a pound or two because I was 195 pounds. Finally I'm losing a little bit of weight. I'm excited. Then my weight plateaus, right? So now I'm 190, maybe 3, maybe 192 pounds, eating 2,000 calories still a day, but my weight completely plateaued. Why is this? Because my body adapted, to the stimulus that I was providing it. It adapted to the weight loss. My metabolism readjusted, and I couldn't lose weight any longer. Even if I ate 2,000 calories a day, I would never break through the 193 pound plateau. So I would have to diet down all the way to 1,900 calories, right? I had to pull it back even more, take a little bit off, eat a little bit less. I could have gone about it a different way and added in something like an extra 1,000 steps per day. That is a strategy, but that's not what I did. Instead, I stripped away 100 extra calories. Now I'm eating 1,900, right? Now I'll lose another 2, maybe 3 pounds, depending on my metabolism, depending on my lifestyle, depending on how active I am. Now I'm going to go down to 190 pounds, right? Eating 1,900 calories a day. This is just simple kind of cutting math, right? To figure out what you can eat to be able to cut, is all you have to do is multiply your body weight times 10, right? And this is a for sure way to kind of be able to cut for at least 2, maybe 4 weeks, depending on your body and depending on how quickly you adapt to the stimulus. So now I'm 190 pounds, eating 1,900 calories. What happens? Again, I plateau. I can't lose any more weight. I can't diet down any further because my metabolism adjusts. So then I pull back some more calories, right? 1,800. Then I go down all the way to maybe 185. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm amped up. I'm hyped up. 185, finally losing more weight. But then I plateau again because my metabolism adjusts. My body adjusts to the stimulus. It adapts because our bodies are adaptation machines, and I'm not losing weight any longer. And so the point is I have to keep stripping calories, and I kept stripping calories all the way till I was at 1,100 calories a day. And eventually your metabolism will slow down so much, and you're not moving enough to be able to burn as many calories as you need. And so I went all the way down to 1100, but my body weight, I only got down to about 155, right? 155 pounds. This was when I went on my huge like cutting spree of like 2 years of cutting. So I turned from skinny fat into a stick figure. Now I'm 155 pounds. Here's the problem is I have to continue eating 1100 calories a day to keep my 150-pound body or my 155-pound body, right? And nobody wants to eat 1100 calories a day, not to mention that I'm going to become nutrient deficient and I'm going to get a whole bunch of hormones out of whack if I continue eating 1100 calories a day, because I'm not getting the micronutrients and the macronutrients that I need to sufficiently sustain my body's hormone function or any other kind of function that my body may produce. So you see how this can become a problem really quickly, right? I'm dieting down over and over and over again. And now, I might get a little bit of ab definition. And I did, in fact. I was pretty stoked about that. I got some ab definition. I became a little bit leaner. I could see some of my muscles. That's great. But by no means was I jacked, or by no means did I look like Thor or the Hulk, or by no means did I look like shredded or peeled. I looked, frankly, pretty anorexic. Right, pretty anorexic, and a lot of people were commenting on that back in the day at my school. They're like, "Dude, you don't look very good. Like, you look unhealthy. You look malnourished. You need to eat food." And so I was stoked about having abs, but on the outside, everyone else thought that I looked anorexic, that I looked macronutrient and micronutrient deficient, which was true because I was only eating 1100 calories a day. And if you take my experience and compare it to the average person, they are usually skinny fat, the same as I. They are usually people who carry more body fat than they do muscle, right? Because not the average. The average American does not carry more muscle than they do fat. The average American has a dad bod, right? Like more fat than they do muscle. They have a skinny fat body. They are NARPs, non-athletic regular people. That's actually a medical term that I learned in the 1 year of attendance that I went to high school. That's the one thing I retained from going to college. Sorry, I said high school, but that's the one thing I retained from going to college for movement science, is that NARPs stands for non-athletic regular people. It's actually a medical term, which I find absolutely hilarious, by the way. In any case, so this is the typical sequence that people go through. And then what's going to happen? What happened to me is I could not sustain 1100 calories every single day. And so I ramped it back up, and I ended up going from 155 all the way up to 180 pounds, right? And so it was completely useless what I did. I may have lost 15 pounds in the long run, but I ended up skinny fat again nevertheless. And what I realized is if I just gained muscle first, if I instead produced a muscle building adaptation to ramp up my metabolism so that I can burn more calories throughout the day than I consume, right? Because not to mention, muscle is one of the most thermoactive tissues on your body. So building up your muscle mass is going to be one of the for sure ways to increase your metabolism throughout the day. And so this is the better way to go about it. Is what I should have done is gained muscle first, spent the first 2-3 years putting on muscle, and then cutting down the body fat later so I can ramp up my metabolism. Not to mention I actually would have muscle to cut down to and actually see, because that's what people really want, isn't it? They really want to be toned. They really want to be, you know, bigger than they are fat. They want to have more muscle mass than they do fat, which is like, that's the dream, right? That's the dream, is to have more muscle than you do fat, so that you don't look skinny fat, so that you look somewhat athletic, so that you look a bit toned and you look a bit better than the average person. That's what we all want. So that would have been the better way to go about it. Now, the other way I could have gone about it is, instead of dialing back my calories so drastically, is I could have increased my steps or my movement throughout the day, right? But that also has a plateau. That also has a peak. That also has a mountaintop that you're not going to be able to go past. Like, let's say I go up to 10,000 steps, then 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. I'm going to be walking for 2, 3, 4 hours a day to be able to sustain that. So one could say, all right, well, why don't you do cardio instead? Why don't you just go for runs? That could work in some situations if you stay under 20 minutes of long form cardio every day. But here's the problem: 20 minutes of running only burns like 100 calories, which is the same as walking like 1,000 steps. So that's completely useless as well. Not to mention that when you go for runs, it pulls energy, ATP, literal calories, from every system of your body, not just your body fat. The way the energy system pathways work in the body is, if you go for a run, it's incredibly stressful and incredibly strenuous on your body. Not to mention your joints, ligaments, whatever. You're going to start getting pains. You're going to be running way too much. You're going to get all sweaty. And it's going to pull energy from your muscles. So it's going to pull back your muscles. And this is not good in the long run, obviously, because we're trying to build up our muscle to be able to burn more calories throughout the day. Because again, muscle is one of the most thermoactive tissues on your body. And having more muscles is going to burn way more calories than any kind of runs you can incorporate. So you see there's ceilings to these things. There's ceilings to how many steps you can do. There's ceilings to how much running you can do. There's ceilings to how many calories you can pull out of your diet. And so what is it that burns more calories that can help you increase your metabolism and burn more calories throughout the day that doesn't exactly have a ceiling? And it's muscle building adaptation, the muscle building stimulus. Because again, building muscle does have a ceiling, but it's going to take you 30 years to hit that ceiling, or it's going to take you 20 years to hit that ceiling, depending on who you are. I've been lifting for 8 years and I'm nowhere even close, nowhere near. I'm not even in the same stratosphere of my natural limit of muscle building. Mind you, it's pretty slow, right? Here's the downside. There's downsides to every single one of these. It's pretty slow now. You might gain, again, I always talk about this, you might gain 5 to 10 pounds of muscle on your first year. That's awesome. That's amazing. That is so much fun. And I commend you if you can even stick to it that long. But then you're going to gain 5 to 8 pounds on your second year. And on your third year, you're going to gain 5. And on your fourth year, you're going to gain 3 to 5. And on your fifth year, you're going to gain 2 to 3. And then your sixth year, you're going to gain 1 to 3. And then your seventh year, again, 1 to 2. And it goes down and down and down more and more and more. But the point is you're not going to hit the ceiling for a long time, for 20 to 30 years of lifting naturally. Now this is natural. All right, mind you guys, I know there's a lot of fitness industry bullshit about people who are on peptides, steroids, and PEDs like SARMs. But I'm talking about naturally. I'm talking about if you want to be in shape, if you want to be physically fit for your entire life, rather than just a couple summers in a row by doing PEDs, then this is the strategy. You need to pack on muscle for as long as you can humanly stay sane. Now, if you're incredibly overweight or if you're obese, then you need to dial back some fat. If you're an unhealthy weight, you need to dial back some fat. Or if you're incredibly unhappy with your body fat levels, like you are just depressed about it, you just cannot stand being overweight any longer, then you should dial back, 10, 20 pounds. But you cannot diet all the way down and expect to just be toned out of nowhere, because you can't gain muscle and burn fat at the same time, especially if you're over the age of 20, 25. Like, it's going to be incredibly hard for you to burn fat and gain muscle at the same time. So you need to pick one. You need to figure out which one it is you want to do. And so, to circle back and answer the question, do you have to build your abs if you want to have a six pack? I would say you don't have to, but you should. You don't have to, but you should. And do I train abs? Not really. But I should. I know I should. I know I need to. Not to mention, your abs are a muscle. Your abs can be built. Your abs can be crafted. Like, abs are made in the kitchen. No, they're not. Abs are made in the gym. Your abs are built upon in the gym by doing the same things that you do with your other muscles. You need to produce a muscle building stimulus, and then you need to recover. And you cannot do that in a calorie deficit, because we all know you can't build muscle and burn fat at the same time, like I just mentioned. So if you're trying to cut down and lose weight over and over and over again and do this drastic calorie deficit, kind of like I did, you won't be able to build up your abs. You won't be able to put muscle onto your abs. You won't be able to separate them. You won't be able to cultivate and craft your obliques like you want them to be sharp and razor sharp, but you won't be able to build them if you're cutting. And so what you should do instead is focus on bulking. You should focus on building up muscle. You should focus on training your abs just like you would any other muscle. Now, you can do them a bit more frequently, kind of like you can with biceps, right? You can do biceps pretty much every day with a low volume, like 1 to 2 sets, right? You can do the same thing with abs. 1 to 2 to 3 sets of abs every single day. You could, or you could do just 3 times a week. That's what I would recommend. 3 times a week of ab training. Go on a bulk, get your calories right, make sure your recovery is right, make sure you have a muscle building adaptation, build up your abs and build up your foundation, your baseline of muscle for like 1 to 2 to 3 years. At least get those newbie gains in, that 10 pounds in the first year, that 5 to 10 pounds in the second year, that 5 to 8 pounds in the third year. In 3 years, you could pack on 20 pounds of muscle if you're a newbie. Then you can cut down. Then you'll be able to cut down to your foundation of newly formed muscle that you've been building over the last 2 to 3 years, and you will actually have a foundation of muscle to cut down to. So, should you train abs? Do you have to train abs? You don't have to, but you should, because these people, everyone everyone goes about it the wrong way. Everyone goes about it the opposite way, is they try to diet down because they're unhappy with their body fat, but then they realize, just like I did, that they don't have any muscle to cut down to anyway. So then you're either one polar opposite or the other. You're either overweight or you're a stick figure. And then you're fucked. Like, you cannot sustain that newly found diet with the metabolism that you have, because you're going too low in calories, you're dropping it far too low. It's not sustainable. But what is sustainable is building up a shit ton of muscle. Again, 20 pounds in the first 3 years. That's achievable by every single person watching this. If you train right, if you drink protein, or excuse me, if you eat protein, if you get a gram per pound of body weight, right? If you get the recovery down, if you're drinking your water, if you're making sure you have an ample muscle building stimulus from your training program, you can gain 20 pounds of muscle in the first 3 years of lifting. Then you can cut down slowly, and you can introduce more steps in accordance. Like, you can do them together. You can introduce more steps as well as decrease your calories slowly, and then eventually you will make it to a place where you can sustain that muscle and also lose fat, and you'll finally be able to see your abs. Right? Because if you go about it the other way, you won't be able to sustain it. You might see your abs for a few weeks until you eventually rebound. But if you go about it the way of building muscle first, you can actually sustain that, because muscle is a stubborn tissue. That's the other thing. Muscle does not want to leave your body. Like, unless you're going for marathon runs or you're really putting a lot of stress on your body, when you get muscle, it pretty much stays on you for life. Unless you're cutting and cutting again, drastically cutting your calories for a long period of time, then it will start pulling from your muscles. But if you don't do something so drastic, if you just lower your calories slowly, after the first 3 years of lifting, you pack on 20 pounds, then you lower your calories slowly, increase your steps slowly, increase your movement, then you can sustain this forever. You can basically sustain this forever. And then you can go through little cycles of mini cuts and mini bulks, and you can sustain that forever, rather than going about this kind of up and down cycle of cutting and then rebounding, cutting and rebounding, and cutting and rebounding. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, but you have to be in it for the long haul. You need to be in it for the long haul, because if you're not, then you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to bulk for 3 years. I just want to cut down and reveal my abs. Like, great. Then you're going to cut down. You're not going to be able to sustain it. You might be able to see your abs for 1 month, maybe 2 months if you're lucky. And then you're going to rebound, because, again, your metabolism fucking crashes. You can't keep up with eating 1,200, 1,500 calories every single day, and you're going to gain it all back. And now you have nothing to show for it. Now you have no abs and no muscle. So it's just useless. It's worthless. It's a stupid cycle. I wasted, again, 2 to 3 years of lifting doing this kind of up and down bullshit, where you lose 30 pounds, you gain 15 back. You lose 10 of it, you gain 5 back. You lose 10 of it, you gain 20 pounds back. And it's just over and over and over again, this perpetual cycle. And then you develop all kinds of disorders with foods, and you demonize certain foods. You're like, oh, it's the cookie that made me fat. But no, it's not. It's the fact that you can only eat 1,100 calories a day, and that cookie is 300 calories. And so you're only left with 700 calories, 800 calories left for the day. And then you can't sustain that, because you don't have enough micronutrients, you don't have enough macronutrients in your diet to be able to keep up with your lifestyle habits. And then it's a perpetual cycle, again, up and down, over and over and over again. Gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight. When instead, if you just packed on muscle for 3 years of your life, if you just took the time to pack on 20 pounds over the next 3 years, and then you decided to slowly cut your calories and ramp up your steps, you'll be able to sustain that for as long as humanly possible. Because let's say you gain 20 pounds of muscle after the first 3 years, right? And then you decide, all right, it's finally, I got 20 pounds, I did what Garrett Wolf told me. Now it's time to finally cut down, right? Now it's time to finally cut down. So you increase your steps and slowly decrease your calories. You can sustain that for a long time, because you'll be able to eat 2,500 calories, 3,000 calories, and still lose weight, because you have a lot of muscle, because you have 20 pounds of muscle added to your frame. Again, muscle is one of the most thermoactive tissues on your body. You slowly increase your steps, you slowly decrease your calories until it's not sustainable anymore, until you're finding that, my calories are a bit low, I'm a lot more hungry, but, I'm happy with the body fat levels that I'm at now, because you have muscle, you have strength, and your muscles will start pushing against your fat, making you appear bulkier and bigger. And then you can cut down the unwanted fat. And then after you cut down fat for, you can do 2 weeks to even up to 3 months, depending on how long you want to do it. Then you can just, again, slowly ramp up your calories from the deficit and slowly decrease your steps,
kind of like a reverse diet, and then you can get back to baseline and chill there if you want, or you can go for another bulk and slowly increase your calories, or you can decrease them again, right? Slowly increase them up, go for a bulk for a little bit, and then decrease them back down slowly into a deficit. And this is something that's sustainable. This is something you can sustain forever rather than, again, this up and down bullshit, fucking up and down, lose 20 pounds, gain 5 back, lose 30 pounds, gain 10 back. It's not sustainable to do it in that manner. And the only reason it's not sustainable is because you don't have enough muscle on your body. And so, circling back around again, should you train abs? I think you should train abs. You should train them 3 times a week. And if you want to see them sustainably forever, going about this cutting and bulking, like cutting drastically, cutting your calories over and over and over again, is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to gain muscle and then slowly cut, gain muscle and then slowly cut, gain muscle and then slowly, peel back on your calories, slowly increase your steps. And again, guys, I know you guys want these overnight results, but truthfully, when it comes to lifting, when it comes to getting in better shape, the slower the better, because not only are we trying to cement it in your brain that you need to do this forever, it's not just something for the short term, but we also want progress to be slower because we don't want our bodies to adapt overnight, because again, our bodies are adaptation machines, and if it will adapt to any stimulus that you put it under. So be weary of the stimuluses that you're